Hey, this is the game Shane CBS thought would be the game of the week, but maybe not necessarily the case. Texas A&M at Alabama. Let's focus on Alabama first of all, Shane.
Hmm.
Bryce Young, of course, got banged up in the win over Arkansas. Don't know if he's going to be able to play. But let me ask you this, Shane, because what we saw of Jalen Milroe, it's been brief, but he looks like a very promising prospect. He's obviously
Hmm.
an elite runner, not yet proven that he can win a game throwing the ball. But do you think they'll even need to against Texas A&M? What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think they will need to. One thing, Texas A&M's not had a lot of good things going for them right now,
Yeah.
but one thing they have is that defensive side of the ball. So I'm fully expecting I'm expecting them to force him to throw the ball. I'm expecting him to load up the box and dare them to win with his arms. And that, I think, if you're going into this matchup, that's what you got to do if you're Jimbo, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to because again, he's not proven anything. And
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, maybe he's got 3 turnovers in him. And that's
Hmm.
exactly what you need. Again, maybe I'm being deceived because I was kind of rooting for it, but I really thought Arkansas was going to win that game last week, Shane, when Milroe had to go in. Not that he's a bad player, but obviously he's not the Heisman Trophy winner. There's only one Bryce Young, and
Right.
Arkansas was scoring. They had that momentum, but again, we gotta credit Jalen Milroe for making the big play of the game. Sam Pittman and Nick Saban
Hmm.
both said it after the game. That was the play of the game, his big run. So he's certainly, Jalen Hurts is the comparison you get, I think, for obvious reasons because they both suited up for Alabama. But if they get anything close to Jalen Hurts, they're gonna be just fine with old Jalen Milroe back there. You know what?
I think so too. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not worried about Alabama in this game. And I don't know if there's any Texas A&M fans listening now that you've been on Paul Feinbaum, Mike. But I think the fact of the matter is, Jimbo. I mean, he's on the hottest of hot seats, and I know we've got the $80 million buyout, but they're going to find ways. If they don't want you at the end of the season, they're going to find ways, and I think that's got to register down there. And in his mind, he's going to have to do something different. He's going to
Yeah.
have to get creative. How do you shut the nation up? You beat Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. That's what you do. This is something they were able to do last year. So, there's a lot of question marks coming out of College Station, but for me, Mike, personally, the biggest news is the fact that Alabama is down the starting Heisman quarterback. We got a quarterback back there, that was a plug and play and did great, But again, this is something that Alabama or Arkansas really scripted for. Texas A&M has. They know he's mobile. They know they're going to try to establish the run. If you take that away from them, they're going to have to think outside the box. They are going to have to pass. So I think this is the perfect storm for Jimbo. Honestly, if I was going to play Alabama, this is exactly how I would have dialed it up. Get enough tape on the guy we're going against, but you're still going against the backup quarterback here.
Yeah, and if you recall, Shane, I mean, it was damn near identical last season.
Yeah.
Alabama was playing Ole Miss, undefeated Ole Miss. Remember, and Ole Miss was flying high, and that was my annual. I'm picking at Alabama to be upset in a game, and they just trashed Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin. They forgot to plug in the popcorn. Then they roll into this A&M game. A&M had lost to Arkansas. We're saying, what the hell is wrong with A&M? This, Jimbo is he the guy? And then he turns right and we can't forget Jimbo. You remember that offseason said we're going to whoop his ass, and everybody
Yeah.
was like, whoa, you can't be saying this about Nick Saban. Well, he backed it up. Everybody was saying, oh, Nick's gonna make him pay. He's got Bryce Young. He's got Will Anderson. Well, it didn't matter, brother. And I know that game was in College Station, but that was the best game A&M played all season. Everybody's calling them out. Hell, like you said, I'm on Feinbaum, national television, calling out their coach. What are the odds, Shane? They got nothing to lose in this game. Everybody's going to be counting them out. Maybe they come up with more up-tempo, fast pace, because that seemed to click something in a couple of their games. And maybe they just play carefree. They don't turn the ball over. And, again, they got that psychology, Shane. They have beaten Alabama 9
Yeah.
times out of 10 when Alabama takes a field, it's against someone they've beaten 14 out of 14 in a row, 15 in a row, or 9 out of 10, or whatever the heck it is. But this team right here, I know it's different teams, but a lot of those players have taken a field with Alabama, and they've come away with a win. Does that help the Aggies at all, you think?
I think so, Mike. I mean, it's scripted perfectly. Like I said, that's when I think of teams like Arkansas and Texas A&M right now.
Yeah.
They're just out there to ruin seasons. I mean, they're not going to go to the SEC championship. They're not going to win a national championship. Unless a lot of things go your way. But you can really disrupt the entire SEC week in, week out. I think that kind of loosens you up. Be a little bit more aggressive. You're going to see more fourth down calls. You're going to see a little more dialed up blitzes, and I just think that's where we're at right now, and that freedom. Sometimes it bites you, but sometimes, man, it pays dividends. So I think if you're like I said, if you're Jimbo, you're the Texas A&M, you need something. You need a lightning strike. You need to get this fan base back behind you. And like I said, this is it. This is the SEC championship. This is their national championship. They win this game, people stop talking about firing Jimbo because you beat Nick Saban 2 years in a row.
Now, let's kick it over to Nick Saban real quick, Shane. I got a question for you on the other side.
It's one thing to know you're one snap away from entering the game as a starting quarterback, but how do you think that Jalen handled that transition from going from the bench to the game?
Well, we try to put him in other games so he gets the opportunity to play. So it's not the first time he ever goes in a game. But hopefully that's what you try to do is prepare guys so when they get an opportunity, they're ready to play. That's why you try to get guys really good game experience. So if they have to play, they feel more comfortable going into the game. But you'll have to ask him how he felt. I can't answer that question. I just know as a coach what we try to do to prepare him so that they feel like at least psychologically they're in the right place to go out there and read things and make the right choices and decisions. It's why we practice. It's why we give guys experience. And we've been fortunate that, Jalen got a pretty good bit of experience, in these first few games.
Yes, Coach. I was wondering, it seems like all good teams at some point in the season have a really tough game. And even if you win it, do you get something out of that, an intangible later on, or is there any record of that, I guess, that you would say you do or don't?
Well, I would say that, we've only had, 2 teams around here in 15 years that have gone undefeated. That didn't mean that the teams that lost a game necessarily didn't have, in some cases, the same amount of success as the other. All right, the question is do you need to lose a game to learn? Do you need to lose a game to get it right? Do you need to lose a game to say it's important to practice the right way, do things the right way, take care of myself the right way? The middle of the season is not the time to think about getting rest. You rest at the end of the season. All right, the season is a grind. Practice is a grind. Preparation is a grind, mentally and physically on players. But you got to make a choice. Are you going to grind through that and continue, or can you learn from the lessons when you win as well as when you lose? Or do you have to lose to learn the lessons? And I think that's a dynamic that every team has to prove that they can continue to do these things over the course of the season.
And obviously, if we talk about you touched today on headlines, I want to know when you have those moments, and obviously this happened in the off season, but when you have those moments when there's all this criticism and outside noise, how have you learned to handle that when this noise has gotten so loud, and how do you help your players navigate those distractions as it only becomes worse?
Well, obviously, at times we haven't handled it very well because, I was talking about rat poison last year when we played this game. Nobody would listen. Players wouldn't listen. You all didn't listen. They had lost the week before. We were big favorites. It was like no big deal. Just show up for this game, go play the next game. And I don't get affected by it because I don't listen to you all. I really don't have any interest in what anybody thinks about any of this stuff. I do have an interest in how it affects and impacts the players on our team. And I think it does. And I think they have to show maturity in how they manage it and know that external opinion, external noise, whatever you want to call it, rat poison, whatever it is, absolutely has nothing to do with the outcome of the game. Just like fans have nothing to do with the outcome of the game. They don't block, they don't tackle, they don't catch passes, they don't make sacks. All they do is make noise. And if you want to take them out of the game, just play well, execute, and then they won't be there. They'll leave. So these are external factors that cannot affect how you think as a competitor in terms of respecting winning, respecting what you have to do to win, and how important it is. Knowing that we're going to get the other team's best game because they can all get well beating us. So that's how I try to handle it. Does anybody listen? Sometimes, sometimes not.
Nick Saban ain't happy. Ain't happy.
Yeah, so after hearing that, Shane, ooh, boy, I mean, the way I put it is A&M better be locked in because it sure as hell seems like Nick Saban is going to have his team locked in this ball game, don't you think?
Well, I think for all the positive things we said about Jimbo winning last year, you could easily turn it as a negative because Nick Saban can turn on that tape and say, hey, this is exactly what happened last season. We overlooked these guys. We're going to get beat. We don't want to get beat, you know? So I think this is the rap. And Nick Saban, you know, he's been kind of pleasant in his meetings, but not this week, brother. And I don't know if that's because Bryce is hurt or he's going against Jimbo and he hates his guts. You know, he's not on his basketball team anymore and, you know, shit like that. This game is personal to Nick Saban, and I think part of that is why it's bleeding out into the media here. But have we got an update on Bryce? What you mentioned the other day, I was listening. You talked about there's 5 different sprains, and then you never followed up with which one he had. So I kept thinking to myself, well, which sprain does he have? What are we looking? I know we're day to day is what they're saying, but you know, you've got some medical knowledge there, Mike. I'm just curious, how long before Bryce is back in pads?
That is the unknown, Shane. They're not revealing the grade of that sprain. So, you know, it could be on the very low scale. It could be on the very high scale. And if it's on the high, then he's going to be out a little while. You know what I mean? But if it's on the lower, like Saban's saying, day to day, he's dealt with this before. It sure as hell looked like he was out. I know they put the helmet on him, but it didn't look like he could go back on the field against Arkansas. Maybe that was just precautionary. But again, do you even need him? I hate to I hate to insult A&M or anything, but do you need him more here to win against A&M at home, who's struggling to put 20 points on the board, or do you rest him for Tennessee on the road where you're gonna have to score? You have to imagine 30, 35, maybe even 40 points to beat the Vols. I mean, it certainly seems like this is a game that you rest Bryce Young if possible.
Oh my God, can you? I mean, think about what you just said. I mean, if you would have told me that 10 weeks ago, I called you an idiot, Mike. We're going to rest him during Texas A&M so we can use him against Tennessee. Just listen to that. Golly, it's the 90s again, baby. I love it.
Now, last thing on this game, Shane, let's kick it over to Jimbo real quick where I don't know, maybe he's just keeping things close to the vest, but I'm not a big fan of some of these comments he had here.
Hey, why has it been so hard offensively for them to relax? Do they look comfortable in practice and it doesn't show in games? Or
I don't think they're not relaxed. Just got to relax. Sometimes you want to try when you're young and you got young guys in critical positions that sometimes they just want to try too hard. I don't know. I mean, we talk to them every day, give them confidence. They do it in practice every day and just got to relax and play.
Yeah, Jimbo, what is it that makes you so optimistic that the execution is coming and not
because I know the guys in practice. I see them practice and I see them do it. I see them just got to eventually just got to take it to the field. Been in the business long enough to watch have young players and had teams that done this before, and you just got to keep coaching them. And because I know the ability is there, Their want to is there, their habits, their work habits, all the things. They're tremendous kids, and we have to do a good job of coaching and put it there. And I just, from my time being in here and knowledge of doing it and done it for many years, and I believe in our players 100%.
And well, do you still believe 100% in DJ and his defensive scheme?
Sure do.
All right, Shade. So again, maybe, who knows? Maybe the Aggies bust out like the Wildcat package with Devon Auchain and they do something crazy this week. And of course, he's not going to reveal that in a setting like this. But, man, if I'm struggling like they are, I'm out here saying, man, we got to rework. We got to blow this up. We got to do this. We got to do that. And we'll get it done. But instead, it seems like it seems like he thinks he's a – I'm not trying to pile on him here, but
I know.
It just seems like he's – saying, well, it ain't my fault. They got to do better.
That's exactly what I said. At this moment in the season, it's like, can you not plead the fifth? Can you not, just be like Marshawn? I'm just here so I don't get fined. Just ask those, or this type of answering is infuriating if you're an Aggie fan. I want accountability. My team is not doing as well as it should. We should be undefeated right now. That's what the Aggies think. And I need answers. And coming out here and saying, well, practice went well. Who gives a shit about practice? I want to know what happened during the game. Where did we mess up? Where do we go from here? Give me some positive insight in that everything's going to be okay. I'm not getting that from Jimbo. And I know that's not the point of these damn rally calls, but come on, man, you need it. This fan base needs it, and so maybe they just bring it to the field. But until then, this is just garbage talk to me.
Yeah.